Well, great to meet you.
Likewise, great to meet you. But I do have to tell you that my comic book store, my local comic store that I've been going to for about 20 years, they have an autographed photo of you on their wall because when you were publishing one of your first comics, I guess you were calling individual stores and telling them about the comic, and if they were carrying it, you sent them a photo, so they have you hanging on their wall. So I wanted to mention that, and they wanted to make sure that you knew that they enjoy having you on their wall. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I know they really appreciated it. It's always cool to, when people, kind of reach out and share some cool things. So.
Dude, that makes me so happy because when I was first launching that first comic, I still am this way, like afraid because there's so many great comics out there and you're like, how is mine ever going to even like get on the radar of a shop to put on their, orders? So calling all those shops ended up being such an amazing experience because I got so many like personal connections to so many places around the country, places I knew, but places I'd never been before. Where is your LCS? Like where is the shop you've been going to?
So it's in Troy, New York, which is upstate New York, kind of near Albany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've not been to that shop in person, but I've been through Troy and I've been to, I spent some time in, oh God, what's it called? It's where the famous mineral baths are. It's not
Saratoga Springs.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, and there's a famous chicken joint up there that I would make a pilgrimage to if, I would probably go once a year if I could. But yeah, I love that part of the country, man. In fact, I've always thought it would be rad to live there at some point because it's so beautiful.
It is. As long as you like a long winter, you'll do fine. If you don't care for that, I don't recommend moving up here.
True. Yeah. I mean, I have one of my best friends. His in-laws are Buffalo, born and raised, and then I was in Toronto most of this past spring and summer, so I know. And I've lived in Chicago. Nothing compares to Chicago. That's the most wicked winter I've ever experienced. But I feel like Toronto's very similar to where you live.
Yeah. I've heard that. I haven't been to Toronto myself, but that's what I've actually heard that from people who have been there, that there's some similarities. So I like living up here. It's just, I think it depends on what your tastes are,
Of course. Well, I'm glad that your tastes include comic books, and I'm super excited. I think we're being joined by Mr. McFarlane on this interview. Am I correct?
Yeah, let me add him to the conversation.
Nice.
I know he's having some internet issues, so we'll see if we can actually get him in.
Maybe traveling as well.
Yeah.
I'm headed to South Africa tomorrow, so I'm all over the place today trying to get everything wrapped up before I leave.
Yeah. I knew you were traveling for your next production tomorrow. They mentioned that in the email. They did not say you were going quite that far, though, so that's exciting.
Heck of a journey.
Imagine. All right. Well, cool. Let's see. I don't know. I'm getting still the buffering circle for Todd, so I'm just going to leave him there and see if he can.
Okay.
Get in. I don't know if he can hear us or not, but I can't see him. Todd, I'm going to just throw this out there. Todd, can we hear you? It doesn't sound like it.
Okay. Well, I'm here, and Todd will get on. He's traveling. Like I said, I think just the same as me. He's all over. That guy is the busiest person I know in publishing and in entertainment. He's awesome. Him and James Gunn, people that just don't stop.
Right. Absolutely. All right. I can't see you anymore, but I can still hear you. So
okay. Sorry, I was trying to respond to something.
That's fine. I don't want to distract you while you're driving, so we can.
Not at all. I'm on, and I'm safe. My phone is safely placed. I don't see you, but you can see me, and that's what matters. And I do have at like 2:59, we'll have to hop off.
Okay. No worries. Perfect. I will keep it on time. I'm not going to go over. That's not my style. So
no worries.
Well, let me start with. Here comes. I'm going to keep trying to add Todd, and I'm just going to ask the question. Oh, there he is. Hello, Todd.
Hey, man.
Let's see. I can see you. I don't know if you can hear us. Hello, Todd. I see. Oh, so are you guys going to leave me out of the club? You didn't tell me there was the sunglasses club meeting, or I would have brought my sunglasses too.
Man, we're West Coasters. Are you kidding me? It's sunny as hell out here. I can't see anything.
That's fair. In upstate New York, it's getting in about a month or so. It's going to start getting dark at about 2 p.m. So, the sunglasses won't get a lot of use. That's all right. Todd, how you doing? Can you hear us? No, it's just going to look cool. Okay. All right. Well, let me start with an easy question.
It's a bit choppy. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. How you doing? All right. I'll throw out the questions and I'll let you guys answer. I guess David will start with you, and Todd, if you want to add something in, because if you can hear it, then that'll be great. I'm going to start with a real simple question, just because I want to make sure people know what we are talking about. Obviously, we're here to talk about the new comic, Knights versus Samurai. So just kind of the quick nutshell version. Tell people, what's the comic about? What are we looking forward to?
Great. So it's 1575, and it is a time of the feudal system in England, and there is a knight named Charles Ward. His nickname is the Dragon Butcher. Charles is famous for slaying the dragon of the Northern Sea, and the Duke that he serves sends him on a mission to avenge missionaries that were sent supposedly on a religious mission to this island that they've discovered in the far, 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 far eastern seas. So Charles, who's just lost his brother, his twin brother, his best friend, who's absolutely never led a group before, takes this legion, this ragtag group of warriors, which includes a giant, a cleric, a archer, incredible swordsmen, great knights. They go across the sea and they get to this island, and what they encounter, instead of these heathen barbarians that they were told had savaged their missionaries, they find the most elite warrior class they've ever seen before. And what they thought to be true turns out maybe not to be as true. But before they have time to figure anything out, they're suddenly clashing and in battle with samurais. And this is a story that's told from two different perspectives, from the side of the knights and the English feudal warriors, and the side of the samurai and the Japanese feudal warriors. And we've got witches, we've got oni, we've got tengu, we've got dragons, we've got ogres and goblins. We have every manner of warrior and weapon you can imagine. And to me, it's just a dream come true. And I can't believe that Todd and I just still can't believe that Todd is shepherding and putting out this book for me. It means so much.
Yeah. So that's one of my main questions I was really curious about too, was kind of like, how did this come about? I know you've written comics before, with some other companies and whatnot, but now we're teaming up you with Todd, who is, he's Todd McFarlane. And, so did you go to him? Did he come to you? Like, how did this all happen?
I went to Todd. My first comic, Count Crowley at Dark Horse, I was getting some really great input from a guy named Sean Canino, who at the time was at a different company. And then Sean ended up going to work for Todd. And my dream for Knights versus Samurai was always to get it into the hands of Todd McFarlane and see if it was something that he might be interested in. And so when Sean went to work for Todd, I put together a pitch. And I pitched it to Sean first. He said he loved it. He thought that Todd might like it. So he set up a meeting with all of us. And I pitched the idea to Todd. And thank God, he said, I like it. He gave me the coveted McFarlane thumbs up, man. And and not only did he give me the thumbs up, he's been as hands-on as you could imagine. I mean, it's nuts to think that the owner of this sprawling empire is as involved in the books as he is, as busy as he is, but he's been just an amazing mentor and shepherd for me. And he even graciously did a variant cover for our first issue, which I just signed a staff.
I saw that. I saw that was one of the big incentive covers, and it looks amazing. And I saw that those signatures were going to be available, so I'm sure that's going to be a sought-after collector's item. And Todd's still trying to get in. He looks like he's frozen now. I don't know. He says he can't hear me. He put in the chat that he can't hear me, but he can hear you. I don't know what's going on there. So
Okay.
I'm just keep hitting you with questions, and if you can jump in at any point, we'll let him jump in. How's that sound?
Here's what you got to do. You got to ask me. So, what does Todd McFarlane think of Dave Dastmalchian? And then I'll just put words in Todd's mouth, and that goes down in the public record. I mean,
all right.
That's gonna be on my Wikipedia page. Todd McFarlane said it.
Okay, we'll try. Let's try that. Let's see how it goes then. So Todd, what do you think of David Dastmalchian?
Dave Dastmalchian is the coolest guy I've ever met. He's such a passionate. I'll tell you what happened from my perspective, and eventually, when you're able to connect with Todd, you can hear his version of the truth, because what is the truth other than our own points of view and the editing that is memory? It's kind of like Rashomon, right? But I pitched this idea to Todd, and he sat there and he just took a minute, and he honestly he gave me the best response I could have asked for.
Right.
Because he said, David, I love the notion, knights versus samurai. Right there is a really wonderful concept, but he didn't know how it was going to actually exist, how it was going to be fleshed out, how it was going to work. And during the course of my pitch, he seemed to really be excited about or gravitate towards the character development, relationships, the nature of the story that I wanted to tell. And it seemed to me, from the way he reacted, that above and beyond even the incredible battles and the creatures and the warriors and all the stuff that we love about comics, that he really believed in the story that I was trying to tell, because I'm really passionate about the idea that over time, human beings have historically, especially those of us in the working class, the warrior classes, the artisan classes, anybody that's not in the elite class, especially when you're thinking about back in the day with kings and daimyos and emperors, the way that people can be manipulated into believing that other people are their enemies and that they need to serve their masters because other people that look differently or vote differently or speak differently or fight differently or dress differently from them are their enemies. And I think that's one of the saddest problems that we face as human beings. And I really wanted to tell this story about people who are complex, complicated, real human beings facing incredible, fantastic situations, but that underneath have more in common than they could have ever realized. And I feel that way about all of us. It's crazy sometimes when you think about how easily and readily divided people can be in the name of the powers that be. And I think and I think the heroes of the story are the ones who are going to work not to divide but unite.
Sure. I think that's not only a powerful theme, I think it's a very timely theme, and I think that's a really important story to tell for sure. I'm gonna just Todd, feel free to jump in at any time if you can.
Turn left, then take the first
I
right.
feel like I'm the only person who's not in a car right now. Also, no sunglasses, no car. Oh man. I hope Todd doesn't get mad at me. You'll have to tell him, David, that this was not my time.
No, he's not going to get mad. He's not going to get mad.
So just a quick logistical question, actually, only because I didn't see it in the press releases. Is this an ongoing series? Is it a mini series?
Turn left onto Willis Road, then turn left onto Highway 19 North.
I pitched Todd the first major arcs of my story. Now, with publishing, obviously, and with any storytelling, we will get to tell as many stories in this world as the audience is hungry for it. So that's my answer. Is I've already written 6 scripts. I'm geared up to write 6 more as we speak. I've got a plot that takes us through this epic war battle warriors from different parts of the world in the 16th century and all different manner of fantastical beasts and creatures. I want it to feel like you're stepping into your own version of Dungeons and Dragons meets Shogun. But of course, that's why I'm honored and I'm lucky that we get to talk to people like yourself who get to tell your local comic shop and your followers and your fans about our book, because if people respond to it and they really love these characters, then I want to keep telling the story for as long as possible. But Todd's very wise. He says, let's just go one issue at a time. Just invest, put all of your heart, your soul, your energy into the one story at a time, David, one script at a time. Don't get too out of scope worrying about the big picture. Don't worry about December when it's just September,
Right. Yeah. So, you mentioned how involved he's been, and I'm just curious, like, sort of like, you're working with a great artist, and Todd's been maybe giving you some advice. So what's kind of the process been? Is it, you write the script, send it in, and then forget about it? Or are you kind of seeing the artist that's coming in? Are you guys having meetings? Like, what's sort of the creative process for putting this book together?
So once I had my outlines and treatments and character Bibles and the world documents that I like to create and work on, I shared all of those with Todd, with his incredible editor Thomas, and the folks that work with Todd. And they thought about it, and Todd came back to me and he was like, I really think the right artist for this book is Fetty.
Mm-hmm.
And I started looking at all the work that Fetty had done with Todd, but I also looked at like his own independent self-published work. Like, he did this incredible Italian version, this graphic novel of Macbeth that just encapsulated the world of Knights versus Samurai's tone in such an elegant way, and all of the stuff he's done for Spawn, etc. It's like, this guy's got it. So I met with Fetty by Zoom. He loved the idea. He loved the challenge. He's a classically trained artist who lives in Rome. And the way it worked was, when I'm writing scripts for comic books, I always want to meet the artist first if I can, because I like to know what kind of scripts they like. Some artists really like just a general outline. Some like panel descriptions. Some like, very detailed physical action descriptions. Fetty's kind of more likes to have a broader approach. So for him, after getting to know his style, what I did was I would write out on a page, this is the action that's going to happen. Like, the ship is going to land, the pirate board the ship, or the giant sea monster is going to crash the ship, and then here's the dialogue that I would like included. And then Fetty would just run with it, and then he would start sending us sketches. And again, Todd was involved in every step of the process, so he could chime in, give his thoughts. But we were all pretty much cheering from the get-go when we started seeing what Fetty was doing with these characters, because it's a pretty dense population of warriors, and making each of them really distinct and special and unique was really important to me. I wanted them to look different, have different skin tones, different gender types, different warrior styles, because again, I wanted to tell a story where people who aren't the same can unify and be stronger,
Right. Yeah. Very cool. Todd, I'm going to throw it to you if you're able to hear us. Hey, Todd. I can see you.
I got a feeling I'm coming in choppy.
It's okay. I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear
you. How's my audio, Mike?
It sounds good. Can you hear me? Then we're buffering again. Oh my goodness. Well, we got to say hello at least.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey guys, I know everybody that's watching this is tuning in to see Todd McFarlane, so I'm going to try to make this worth your while. Let's see, what can I do? I don't want to get in a high-speed chase.
No, don't do that.
You're going to ask me anything, any question you want.
Oh man. All right. Well, then I have to go with this, because this is the thing everybody brought up when I told them I was talking to you. Everybody wants to know about Polka-Dot Man. That's the thing that people love. They love Polka-Dot Man.
You got it. So here's a nice connection between Polka-Dot Man, The Suicide Squad, and Knights vs. Samurai. When I went to go do The Suicide Squad, first of all, I knew it was going to be one of the greatest acting experiences of my career because it's a James Gunn film. It's, you know, DC. It's all the things that I love about that world. The actors, the cast. It was some of my closest friends and some of new people who I'd been a fan of forever. So you go to make this film, and here's a story where you've got a dozen characters in you know, from the good guys, the bad guys, the support team. There's all these characters, and yet each one is so specific, so vital to the story that, you know, I was going into it thinking, oh man, Polka-Dot Man, he's gonna totally, boy, how do I what is his contribution to this journey? What is his meaning to this team? Like, how does he have a purpose on this journey, and how can I be authentic to that? And as soon as I started working with James, because I've been friends with James a long time, and I've worked with him as when he wrote a film and produced a film that I worked on called Belko Experiment, but I never worked with him as a director. And he was so incredible at honing in on each specific character, what we needed from them for the story to work, how each one could be distinct and yet still fit within the same world. I mean, with Knights versus Samurai, you're going to get, you know, a giant and a very serious, like, German warrior from the 16th century who may or may not be a werewolf. You're going to get a Japanese, you know, samurai warrior who may or may not be secretly a tiger. And I'm like, how do I get all these totally different weird characters to flow together in a story that makes sense? And I watched as James did that. And for me, getting to bring Polka-Dot Man to life and be as invested in the emotional character stakes of that hero, that sad man, Abner Krill, it inspired me because I was afraid of trying to make a comic book, trying to tell a story with this many characters involved. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the idea of, I've got Charles Ward, and then I've got, you know, Mundrik the giant, and Aelith, who they nickname Ale because when she drinks, she becomes the drunken master, and Wolfhelm, the German, you know, bad attitude, possible werewolf. You've got Baggy, who's a total piece of crap Gollum-like character. And then you get over to the samurai, and that's not everybody. You get to the samurai, you've got an amazing ninja, you've got this incredible female assassin, you've got all of them have their own clerics and magic users. So I would say playing Polka-Dot Man inspired me to, I'm not comparing myself obviously to the talent that someone like James Gunn has, but it did make me aspire to be able to tell a story with, you know, a wide-reaching range of characters that look maybe and operate so differently from one another, but they could need each other and have a compelling story that has some humor to it as well, and that has high stakes and where the action really matters to the audience. And also, it just, how cool, man! I got to be Polka-Dot Man. You know what I mean? I got to be Polka-Dot Man. Yeah,
it's a fan favorite for sure, without a doubt. I mean, it's such a great role. But that's awesome. I'm glad that worked out that way for you. And I'm curious about something else too. You know, obviously, I know that obviously people can multitask, but right? You know, you're flying off to South Africa for a film role. I imagine that's going to take up a lot of your time. Do you write while you're filming, or do you sort of write around it, like in your breaks?
I spend a lot of time on airplanes, in airports, in hotels, in apartments. So I'm getting ready to go to Cape Town, South Africa, to work on the new, really incredible live action adaptation of the manga series and anime series called One Piece that they've been doing, which is a special show. I'm playing Mr. 3, and I will be there. And when I'm not filming, if I'm not, you know, exploring, meditating, doing the things that I like to do, reading, I'm writing. I'm writing currently, Knights versus Samurai with Todd, an Image. I've got Creature Commandos coming from DC. I'm still working on, Count Crowley. And then I have a couple of other short anthological books coming out. So I've just been really, you know, busting my buns trying to stay on top of that. Meanwhile, running Good Fiend Films, which is my production company, I have several TV pilots and 2 feature films that I've written, which are in various stages of sale or development or pitching. And so when I'm out there on the road and I'm being inspired by the artist I'm working with, it always gives me a chance to, you know, hone my craft as a writer, because writing doesn't come easily to me. Nothing comes easily to me, but I would say acting is something that feels like it's just in my bones. Writing is a deep love of mine, but it's a real discipline, and I try to write many pages every day to get better at it, you know?
Right. And you know, you've got all these comic book projects. A lot of times when actors do comic books, they write one and then they never see them again. And you've got all these different, your fingers on all these different pies, all these different companies. What's sort of your, you know, history with comic books in terms of, you're a longtime fan of comics? Is it something you're more new to? How versed are you in the comic book world in terms of the fandom side of things?
So first comic got into my hands when I was about 9-10 years old. I grew up in Kansas and suburbs of Kansas City. I was gifted some amazing comics from some older guys who were getting ready to maybe stop collecting, which I never did. And then I found my way into my local comic shop as a kid, which was like maybe like a 2 or 3 mile bike ride from my house, but it was worth it. I would ride that long ride all the way down 95th Street to the Metcalf South Mall, and I'd go to a place called Clint's South, which was this really wonderful in a mall comic book shop, and you know, I found that over time, different series that I followed would change. Some things would come, some things would go. I was always very into independent comics. I was always a big fan of, you know, Todd's work, and I always liked obscure and weird villains and teams. I love horror comics. I've been now collecting like vintage horror comics for most of my adult life. But yeah, I've been just such a nerd for this stuff that it's kind of wild when you consider that, like, my first film role as an actor was in a Batman movie, playing a henchman for the Joker. It's kind of surreal if you really think about it. My friend Ash always says that I'm living in nerdvana, because I'm a sci-fi, horror, and comic book lover since a young age, and now it's my job. It's kind of surreal.
Sure. Well, you've made a lot of fans doing it, so that's pretty impressive.
Thanks, man. I don't take for granted for 1 second how lucky I am that I get to do this, and I hope all of your, you know, followers will know that, you know, maybe they haven't ever collected any stories or fantasy or books in that space. If you loved D&D, or you love Game of Thrones, you love Lord of the Rings, you love that world where all manner of different races and classes of beings exist. And if you're at all into Japanese culture, folklore, mythology, or you know, warrior stuff like I am, I really hope you guys will give it a chance and see what happens when broadswords and katanas and throwing stars and witches clash. Because I'm really, really proud of this one, and it's for a nerd like me just such a dream come true.
That's fantastic. Well, it sounds amazing. I can't wait to check it out myself, and we'll definitely be writing about it on the sites. So we will we'll get the word out there for you.
Thank you, and I'm sure you will get now a chance to hopefully catch up with Todd at some point soon, and then you can let him know that I quoted him, and he'll probably have to correct everything that I said, but that's okay.
I definitely will. All right. Well, I know we're running out of time.
Thanks, man. That was awesome. That was really great. I'm sorry we didn't get to have Todd, but
no worries.
It means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. I'm sure that the good folks at Todd's company will help find another time for you guys to connect. Okay.
We'll get together. So thank you very much. It was great talking to you. I hope I can talk to you again in the future.
Let's do it, man. Let me know if you need anything. Okay.
Thanks, David.
Bye.